All right, I think I'm going. So today I have fig leaf. Actually, let me go and get the bag. That's a great way to start the video. Didn't even have the leaves with me. So anyway, that's the fig leaf. And this is cool for me. My aunt had a fig tree in her backyard when I was a kid. And I used to climb up and eat figs until I was sick. But never heard anything about the fig leaf. And then I did reading on it, and you know, it's really cool. It's supposedly it treats ulcers. You're supposed to chew 2 leaves a day and swallow. So masticate it, get it nice and juicy and mushy, and then swallow it. It's supposed to cure ulcers. It's also, I put the link in the description. It's also being looked at treating something called AD, which is something dermatory something. It affects a lot of people over in Japan, and it's a skin disease. And so the fig leaf also thickens the skin, and so it helps protect against parasites and bacteria and different things that can get into your skin and cause problems. It's a cure for eczema and all these different things. So being that they want you to eat it for the ulcer effect, I can't imagine that drinking the tea is going to have like a huge effect. But again, my idea is that if you're constantly drinking this stuff, even if it's lightly brewed, it's going to give you some sort of benefit. So let's get into it. This it smells very sweet and like caramel, almost like a caramel raisin, almost a little like raisinets. And they're really huge leaves, of course. If you've never seen a fig tree, they're like these huge leaves. And again, I think this speaks to the quality of these herbs at this store. I mean, this is a full leaf, and it does have some holes in it. Maybe those are insect bites, not sure, but really decent quality. Looks very clean, very green. It looks like they literally just picked it and then dried it. I don't know if they're doing sun drying or what, but so far I've been happy with the quality. So let's get into this. I have a cold brew, which has been waiting patiently for me. Really excited about this, especially after having smelled the dry leaf. I think this is gonna taste good. And I'm really itching for something cool to drink. Just finished riding my bike. It's 80 degrees today. And so I desperately need to cool off. Not so excited about drinking through the hot brew, but you know, gotta do what I gotta do. Can't get this thing open enough. There we go. I must say I was happy to find these water bottles for my teas, but man, they are not the best quality. And so I may go back and spend an extra few dollars on some better quality water bottles. Let's see it. All right, so there's the color. I would say it's fairly dark, really clean though. I don't see any activity or anything in there. Very thin. A little bit of particulate, but not a whole lot. Definitely not any of the fuzzies that I would typically consider activity. But you do have a little bit of, just a tiny bit of relief in there. And again, being that you're supposed to eat this stuff. Oh, that's really good. The other thing I wanted to say is that fig leaves are so nutritious and they have all these benefits. I was also reading something about promoting the use of fig leaf in cuisine. And that got me thinking, like, clearly some of these herbs and some of these plants, of course, like some make better teas, some make better ingredients in dishes. And one of the few recipes I found for fig leaf incorporated wrapping the fig leaf around some sort of meats or vegetable or something like that. And so I think that's pretty cool, and I would definitely like to try something like that if I can get my hands on some fresh leaves. But again, it just got me thinking about, like, you know, using these things not only to make teas, but also for stews and stuff like that. And so it's just, because I definitely like to eat gallo. Definitely like to eat gallo. So why not? So it does have a kind of a minty green leaf flavor. I'm starting to notice that throughout all of these herbs. And so I think that's just going to be par for the course as far as the flavor profile, just because of the greenness of the plant. I mean, I think they literally are just picking it and then drying it, right? So there's no processing, there's no time for it to ferment or create any, like, you know, sugars from the chemicals. And that's what that mintiness is. But outside of that, it is a sweet sort of caramel flavor, and the smell of the caramel really hits your nose the minute you put the cup to your mouth. Very cooling. I'm gonna say refreshing too. It's definitely kind of coating the first part of my tongue. And I really like it. I really do. I can't imagine what this is going to taste like in any kind of stew or anything like that. But I imagine if you did maybe fig leaf and cheese, I think that would be good. Fig leaf, cheese, and honey, just based on the taste of this fruit right now. I can definitely see that being a thing. All right, so let's get this hot brew going. I'm going to do 5 grams of leaf. I'm gonna try my hardest. Let's see. Usually this gives me 5, but today it's giving me 3. So that's okay. All right. So let's see. 1 leaf. Doesn't give me anything. 2 leaves gives me 3 grams. And so that's pretty cool because the recipe calls for 2 leaves a day. So looks like right about 3 full leaves makes about 5 grams. Let's see. Let's do 1 more small leaf. Yep, there we go. So 2 full leaves and 2 small leaves give me 5 grams. And so It's not bad. I mean, like I said, I only paid $1 for this. And so, you know, you're talking maybe, what, 30 cents per session, maybe less than that, maybe 15 cents per session. So definitely cheaper than my tea habit, and just as nutritious. All right, so I got all the leaves stuffed in there. I'm really hoping they're going to cook way down. But yeah, it smells really good. I can't get past the man, I've smelled this before. It just, I always blink on it, but it's definitely caramelized, and it's maybe like a fried pastry. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like a fried pastry, a fried bread, a fried dough that has caramel on top. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, so I'm not gonna wash this. I'm just gonna, well, yeah, I'm gonna wash it because I want to get all the leaves wet. Let's see if I can get them to cook down a little bit. Oh, that's beautiful. That really is. Let me take a picture of that. That's gorgeous. Really pretty bouquet. I'm gonna definitely remember to do that again. All right, wet leaf. Ooh, okay. Give it a second. Very hot. Okay. So, again, I'm really seeing kind of a trend now with these herbs. And once the leaf gets wet, it devolves into this like kind of earthy, not funky at all. Just earthy, kind of meaty. Again, I go with that term. But it loses any sort of fruits or sweetness or really any of those things. It's just like a very savory smell. And so I'm wondering if the same thing is going to happen with the hot brew. Let's see. Get the water hot. And I'm gonna do this one fairly quick, and then we can play around from there. And I'm not gonna fill this up completely with water, so all the leaves are not getting infused right now, but I think that's the best way to do it. And so I'm not looking at the clock, but I'm gonna try to go for about 30 seconds. Looks like the liquid has already changed color. And I'm gonna bet that's close to 30 right there. And this is brewing up very dark. Not black or anything, but look at that. And I do see some activity. Not a lot. Not a lot. Very similar to the cold brew. And so that's interesting. And I think that's been the case so far. It's like if the cold brew has a lot of plant material, the hot brew will as well. And this one does not have a lot, which is probably why you would want to eat the leaves, because you don't get a lot of plant material in the tea. You get some, but not a lot. All right, let this cool for a bit, because that looks hot. Yeah, it's very sort of like a almost a fresh baked bread. Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, definitely like almost like fresh baked bread. It's a nice smell, but I do prefer the dry leaf to the wet leaf. Okay, still too hot, but the mintiness is gone, and it is just more of that savory notes. It's completely different from the cold brew, and that tells me right away that temperature is everything. Steep time may play around with some of the other notes, but as of right now, it looks like temperature is going to be everything. So it's very good though. That caramel, caramel. Yeah, I'm gonna say caramel, and it's true. The smell was more of a caramel, a light, sweet pastry caramel, right? This hot brew is more caramel. You know, it's same flavor but just deeper and richer. And again, you get that caramel aroma coming off the brew as soon as you put it to your face. But yeah, but very sweet. Just so hot. I don't know how I got it that hot. So I'm happy with this. I'm really happy with this. And so what I want to do this next go round is I want to do cooler temperature and just see what happens. You know, just see what happens, to see if I get any other flavor, notes, or anything to come off of this. I don't anticipate that I will, but you don't know until you try. Also, too, I did put the links for those the few articles I did read. There was quite a bit more available online about fig leaf. I don't recall there being any mention of which chemical compounds are in there. I'm sure there was at least one article that talked about the different chemical compounds. So I don't know, but there's always some polyphenol that creates something, and I'm starting to learn that as I read through all these things, all these different polyphenols. There are some that are like the same across the board, like almost every plant has the same polyphenols, and that's the reason why almost every vegetable, every green leaf you come across, they say has antioxidant properties. It's because of those polyphenols. But there's some plants that have polyphenols that other plants don't, and that's what makes those plants special, because you can only get that particular polyphenol from that plant. And so I'm starting to learn that. So really, really cool, interesting stuff. I found one yesterday in the store. It's a Peruvian shrub that they found 2 polyphenols in the shrub. But as of yet, there's no articles written about what those polyphenols do. So that was interesting. But it's a shrub that's been used by the Peruvians for thousands of years for its medicinal properties. And it does have an English word. I just don't remember what it is right now. I think it was something like skunkweed or something. I don't know. But it's supposed to be very bitter. Okay, so yeah, again, caramel, you know, sweet, dark, deep, rich, but sweet. I like it. I'm gonna definitely use less water, even less water, this go round, so that I can drink through these infusions quickly. And try to get this to 130. Even this glass is still hot. Let's see. This thing is shooting past 140. Set. Yeah, so that 140, which is not terrible. I'm going to cool it just a bit more. Let's see what happens with this. And again, just really pretty in the glass. Those big green leaves. And I'm gonna do this one pretty quick as well, just to see what happens. So we're gonna go about 30 seconds. All right. And wow, still really dark. Yeah. So the aroma has not changed at all. Okay, so that mint undertone has come through now. So that's what's happening. With temperature, you get more of the caramel, and less temperature, you get more of the mint. And so that's really nice. So this is what I'm gonna do now. Because again, you're supposed to eat this stuff for the ulcer cure. And so I've talked about this before about these being medicinal plants, and usually when you're making medicine, you want to make them just as strong as you possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this water really hard. We're going to brew this thing for about a good minute and a half, 2 minutes. I read a recipe online that actually called for boiling the leaves for 15 minutes to just extract as much of the plant material as you can out into the water. You know, for me, that would just mean drinking it grandpa style. But again, listen, I do want the benefits of the plant, no doubt, but I also want it to be a pleasurable experience, you know, because I want to make this something that I do on a daily basis, right? Not just drinking it when I think I need it, you know? And I think that's the big difference between doing something for medicinal purposes versus maybe doing something for, I don't know, prevention or for, I know there's another medical term for it when you include something in just your daily diet, you know? It's not prevention, but it's just good care, basically, right? And so that's why I don't think it's absolutely necessary to eat or even brew these things for that long, because I think over time, you know, they will have the same effect as, you know, drinking like a really strong potion just one day. Also too, I do try to get like straight up like scientific articles and papers for these things where they actually do studies, you know. And for this one, I did find at least one, but the ulcer one that I read about was not a scientific study. However, it seemed pretty legit. But they didn't say for how long you're supposed to eat these things. They just said 2 leaves a day, chew them really good, and swallow. I have to assume that would be for like 5 days, 10 days. I don't know if it's something that you'd want to do, you know, every day for a year. you know. But who knows? You know, that's kind of the thing. Like, until there's a real double-blind placebo study done, it's just hard to know. You know, even if your great-grandma or whoever tells you, hey, you know, eat these, it's like, okay, well, did that work for you? You know, does that work for everyone? Does it matter how severe the ulcers are? Like, you know. And so that's why those scientific studies are important, is to get all of that data and statistical information to really determine what the deal is. Because no matter what group of people you find, for some it's going to work well for others it just won't, you know. So, I think I've been yammering on for at least a minute. I'm going to try to give it just a little bit more time. And let's see what we get here. And so the color has not changed. And I did use near boiling water. So I don't know what to make of that. Again, moderate activity in there. Not a lot going on, but some. Let's see if that time made any difference. Wow, it did. Let me tell you, this is one of the things I like about tea, and this is one of the things I like about this fig leaf, is that depending on how you brew it, you're going to get a totally different thing going on in your mouth. So, the caramel is very much subdued. Now, whether or not that has to do with the number of steepings we've been through so far, I will say right away that because I'm not filling the glass with water, the top leaves are not really soaking. And so I think that's a good thing, actually, because that means this thing is just going to keep going and going and going and going. But the minty thing is sort of there, but the caramel is almost gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this with, because I want more caramel, I'm going to hit it with really hot water again. And leave it for 30 seconds like I did before. And let's see if in fact the caramel comes back, or if this thing is just about done. I don't know what number we're on. This must be number 4, 5. Let's see. And I think if these herbs don't have a lot of longevity, the moringa definitely went long. I mean, I steeped that thing and steeped that thing and steeped that thing all night. So that one definitely has longevity. So my thinking is, if they don't have any longevity, then maybe that just means it's a candidate for grandpa style brewing. And I'm definitely not mad at that. Okay, gonna go 30 seconds here. All right, that's good. Color's a bit lighter. Still the same aroma. Looks like a bit more activity this time, actually. That's interesting. I did jostle the leaves around in the glass a bit. Yeah, I would say it came back. That's interesting. So for some reason, letting it steep longer in hotter water kind of stripped away the sweetness. I don't know how that happens. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but again, probably because I moved the leaves around too. So that might just be a thing. So a good reason to have some tongs or something. I want to show you. This is another reason why I think I'm getting some of that minty note. This happens even with tea. When you include the stems, look at that. When you include the stems, you get that sort of minty note in the flavor. And I think that's going to be true of any plant, actually. The leaves pretty much store the sugar, and those stems, you're just going to get a different flavor profile out of them. These are some huge stems. If I were, you know, if I had my own fig tree, I would definitely clip just the leaves. I would leave the stems out of it, you know, for sure. But yeah, definitely came back. So overall, I really like this one. I think I prefer the cold brew to the hot brew, but they really are two different things. The cold brew is sweet, sort of minty thing going on. The hot brew, caramel, darker. I would say as sweet, but it's a different flavor. It's a different thing. But good nonetheless. So looking forward to drinking through this, and really looking forward to getting a couple of shots with the camera of this thing in the water too.